"You'll never be half the man my ex was," she said, loud enough for the couple sitting 2 tables away to catch every word. That wasn't the moment everything fell apart. Not really. It was the silence afterward that did it. The kind that spreads out slow and heavy, settling in your chest like wet cement. People around us froze. Forks held midair, glasses paused halfway up. I noticed a single drop of wine hanging from the edge of her glass, like even it wanted to escape. Sophia sat across from me, her lips curled into a smirk, like she'd just won something. It was supposed to be a celebration. Our anniversary. 33 years since they first met. 36 years married. 18 years in the house I designed from the ground up. Spent 2 solid years bringing it to life. 7 years into Jack's retirement, where I stepped aside to give her space to rediscover herself. She found yoga, took a seat on a nonprofit board, and, apparently, started reminiscing about her high school quarterback like he was the love she let slip away. She looked at me, waiting, expecting me to break, to lash out, to say something dramatic. I didn't give her anything. I just finished my bite, swallowed, took the cloth napkin and gently wiped the corners of my mouth, like I was judging the steak, not our marriage. Then I gave her one slow nod. Calm, controlled. "Thanks for the update," I said. The others at the table, folks who used to be our friends, squirmed in their seats. Megan suddenly reached for the check. Greg pretended to get a phone call. The waiter froze beside me, holding my creme brulee like he wasn't sure whether to set it down or walk away quietly. But I didn't budge. I didn't blink. I reached out and took the dessert. What Sophia didn't realize, what none of them knew, was that my silence wasn't because I was stunned. It was because I'd already done the math. See, I knew. I'd seen it coming. The signs were there, small ones, but they added up. It was like she was leaving a trail on purpose, wanting to be caught, but needing to spin it so she looked like the victim when it happened. The gym bag that always reeked of cologne I didn't wear. Her sudden craving for whiskey sours, his old favorite, if I remember that dusty yearbook story right, the one she once made me flip through while tipsy and nostalgic. Then there was the music, nothing but 90s love songs on the kitchen speaker. Not just old tunes, but the kind of throwbacks that come with feelings. And the necklace, that damn emerald necklace. He gave it to her back in college. I found it 5 years ago, tucked inside a sealed box in the attic. She told me she sold it during a tough time. Lied straight to my face. But there it was again, hanging from her neck that night, catching the light like a green signal flare. I miss him. So no, I wasn't blindsided. I was ready. I'd already adjusted. As we left the restaurant, I watched her laughing with Megan, walking arm in arm, whispering just loud enough for me to hear. He just sat there like a statue. Doesn't even fight for me. They figured I'd go home and sulk in my office. That I'd stew in silence while she turned herself into some flirty free agent on Instagram, slipping off her wedding ring for selfies and pretending the past didn't exist. But I wasn't sulking. I was collecting. Because 2 months earlier, after a weird little slip-up, I started digging. Sophia accidentally sent me a Venmo payment meant for someone named Aaron. The note read, "Last night was fire," followed by 3 snowflake emojis and a wink. I played it cool. Asked if it was for me. She quickly replied, "Oops, that was meant for Rachel." Sure, Rachel, the friend in Iowa who still uses a landline and thinks Facebook is high-tech. That oops was all I needed. I had her phone mirrored. Quietly. Legally. Every message, every photo, every note, every backup. It all went to a cloud folder she didn't even know existed. I didn't rush to open it. I waited. Let her get comfortable. Let her dig her own hole and sprinkle it with champagne. That dinner? That was the final scoop of dirt. When we got to the parking lot, she asked, "You're seriously not going to say anything?" I looked at her like she was someone else's memory. Unlocked the car, got in without a word. Let her talk. Let her text whoever she needed to about the boring husband who wouldn't fight back. I already had everything I needed. Every screenshot. Every whisper. Every late night thinking about you she thought would stay between her and the man she couldn't let go of. Later that night, after she fell asleep with that self-satisfied little smile, I opened my laptop and typed one word. Proceed. She was proud of herself, walking out of that restaurant like she'd just staged a mic drop. She had no idea what I'd already set in motion. She uploaded a file, titled it Pre-Anniversary Revisions, sent it off without a care. While she dreamed about her high school flame, I was busy erasing the life she thought she'd coast through. The first message hit her group chat 20 minutes after we got home. I was still standing by the door, taking off my shoes. He just SAT there. Like a loser. And then came the real kicker. Honestly, it was too easy. I almost feel bad. Almost. 3 laughing emojis. A bored-looking cat gif. And a selfie she snapped under the chandelier. Me in the background mid-bite. Out of focus, like I didn't even belong. Caption. This man thinks we're still in love. They all laughed. Megan. Emily. Even Lucy. Her cousin who once cried in our living room when her boyfriend dumped her for a younger woman. Now she was part of the laugh track. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. Didn't even look in her direction. I walked past her in the hallway. She didn't lift her head, just kept scrolling and laughing. Don't worry, Jack, she called after me, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. You were a great audience. I paused just long enough to check the thermostat. She always turned it up after drinking cheap wine, brought out the worst version of her. I turned it back down. Cold. Precise. In my office, I sat down in front of the MacBook she didn't know the password to. Not the main one. The backup. The quiet one. The folder was already open. Exit package. Inside, PDF copies of our trust agreement. A detailed timeline of every strange financial move she made over the past year and a half. Screenshots of all her mirrored messages. A scan of our prenup, the one she assumed expired. It didn't. And one fresh document. A revised clause for property division, marked ready for legal review. I typed out a message to my lawyer. Thomas, as discussed, begin the process under the public disparagement clause. See Addendum 3, pages 4 and 7. Upload all documents to the court portal. Confidentiality flag on. Subject, activate. I attached the file, named it pre-anniversary_revisions. PDF. Nothing fancy. It uploaded fast. No buffering. No spinning wheels. My internet, for once, didn't hesitate. I just hovered over the send button for a second, not because I was unsure, but because of what that moment really meant. I didn't feel proud. There was no triumphant rush or sense of revenge. Just this quiet stillness. The kind you feel when you realize the person in the next room isn't who you thought they were anymore. Or maybe never were. Sophia was still laughing when I walked past the kitchen. She had Emily on video chat, replaying the dinner scene like it was some episode finale, and she was the star. And I said, "You'll never be half the man my ex is," she bragged, tossing her hair. "Emily, you should have seen his face." There was a pause. Then Emily's voice cracked through the speaker. "Girl, that's iconic. I swear, you should be on Real Housewives," she added. Did he even flinch? Not at all, Sophia said, taking a long sip from her wine glass. Just sat there like a statue. She let out another laugh, louder this time. "Honestly, I think he's going senile. Makes things easier." I stopped by the fridge, didn't open it, just stood there for a second. The microwave door caught her reflection, and I saw it. That pleased little grin on her face. So smug, so unaware. She thought she'd embarrassed me. What she didn't realize was that tonight, she didn't just tear down a man. She set fire to her own safety net. That's the tricky thing about timing. Most people don't realize they've stepped into the trap until it's already snapped shut. By the time she finished her third glass of wine, my attorney had already pushed the documents through for emergency court review. The house, the one she assumed we still co-owned, had just been flagged for asset reassessment. The shared bank account she used to buy those new shoes last week, frozen under temporary order. She thought she'd made me look weak. That little toast? It handed me legal leverage in front of multiple witnesses. The strongest weapon I had wasn't anger. It was silence, and I just fired it. At 2:12 a.m., her laughter shifted. It wasn't the showy, attention-seeking laugh from earlier. This one was softer, closer, the kind she used to save for bedtime whispers and inside jokes. I could hear it through the wall, not loud, but sharp enough to slice right through the drywall. And through me. She was in bed, tangled in the overpriced linen sheets I bought last fall, whispering into her phone like some teenager sneaking in a late-night call. I didn't need to eavesdrop. I already had access. Sophia had no idea that every single backup from her iCloud account was being mirrored. I didn't use spyware or anything shady. I'm not reckless. I just used a simple trick a friend in IT showed me. He'd been through a nasty divorce himself. All it took was registering a second Apple device under her Apple ID, quietly syncing everything in the background. Totally legal. Totally traceable. Everything she saved, I saw. Every message. Every live photo. Even the ones she deleted seconds later. I saw the text come through. Guess who I humiliated tonight? She attached a photo. It was me. Sitting at the dinner table, looking down at my creme brulee. Blurred in the background. She had cropped it just right. Just enough to keep her wine glass and Megan's shocked expression out of the frame. Then another message popped up. Wish it were you I came home to. Black heart emoji. Digital cruelty, dressed up as flirting. His name? Ethan. That's who the J was in that messed up Venmo transaction months ago. Turns out, he used to bartend at a resort we stayed at 15 years back. She ran into him again at some yoga retreat last spring, the one she told me had no cell reception. Apparently, it had reception just fine. Just, not for me. And the kicker? The guy's a landscaping contractor now, with an ego big enough to need its own zip code. And here she was, trying to spin this old high school fling into some tragic romance comeback, like we were living in a bad Lifetime movie. She thought what she was doing made her powerful. That mocking me in private made her clever. Seductive, even. But this wasn't seduction. This was evidence. At 2:20 a.m., she sent him another message. You were always more compatible with me in many ways. Even back then. Wish I hadn't settled. I didn't react. Not a blink. Instead, I clicked download on the zip archive that had just synced from her cloud to my secure drive. It was all there. Labeled. Time-stamped. Admissible. People think betrayal hurts because someone cheats. That's not it. It's the arrogance. The way they move through life, so sure you'll never figure it out. Like you're too old. Too slow. Too gentle. Too blind. They confuse silence with stupidity. But I wasn't sitting in silence. I was archiving. By 2:04 a.m., her entire photo roll had synced. I scrolled through the shots from her girls-only weekend. The one where they supposedly stayed in, drank tea, watched rom-coms. Thing is, I don't remember any of her friends having tattoos that say warrior on their hips, or hands calloused like someone who lays bricks 5 days a week. And yet, there he was. Ethan, shirtless, holding a champagne bottle in the background, grinning like he'd just won a prize. Sophia stood in front, lips puckered for the camera like a teenager at prom. She saved the photo under the name DSCN_1434. Lazy. Predictable. I forwarded the entire batch to Thomas, my attorney. Subject line, supplemental materials, disparagement plus adultery claims. No need for notes. No emotion. Just facts. Back in the bedroom, I heard her phone buzz on the nightstand. Another message from him, probably. She giggled again, softer this time, as she typed something back. I didn't need to see it. I had enough. This wasn't about confrontation anymore. It was about construction. I wasn't swinging wildly. I was stacking bricks, one digital layer at a time, building a wall she wouldn't see until she hit it at full speed. She thought she was starring in some romantic comeback. Thought she was crafting a spicy little love story behind my back. I was writing the ending. And thanks to her, I finally had the last paragraph. By 4:15 in the morning, Sophia was snoring next to an empty wine glass, dreaming sweet on the fumes of her own self-importance. At 3:13, I was sitting at my desk, logged into our family's financial dashboard, steady hands, no noise, no wasted clicks. She never cared to learn how any of it worked. That was always Jack's thing, as she'd tell friends, like I was the help desk. Her role, as she loved to brag, was people skills, meaning she could flirt, remember birthdays, and sweet-talk a waiter into bringing a free dessert. But spreadsheets and asset protection? She never looked twice. That worked out fine, because now, all of it was slipping right through her fingers. I started with the joint brokerage account. Just over $500,000 sitting there. Not too bad for a man she liked to call dull and retired. I'd already set the trap last year, back when she started finding reasons to skip our Sundays together. At the time, I'd opened a dormant trust, just a name and a legal shell. Now, it came alive. The money moved quick, right into the Calhoun Heritage Irrevocable Trust. That word, irrevocable, carries weight. No backsies, and not a trace of her name on it. Calhoun, by the way, was my mother's maiden name. I used it for this exact reason. So if Sophia ever got curious, she'd overlook it. By 3:26, that trust held it all. Our investment account, my pension rollover, the real estate fund, even some trickle in royalties from a patent I'd sold back in 2009. Small money, but satisfying. Next came the house. She used to call it our house. She once joked about hanging her Pilates certificate in the guest bedroom like she owned part of the deed. But the truth is, the title hadn't been in our names for over 4 years. When my niece graduated from law school, she helped me set up a holding company, Ridgewood Holdings, LLC. I told Sophia it was for some internship she never asked about. She bought it, smiled, sipped her Chardonnay, and went right back to her yoga retreats. But in reality, Pinewheel quietly purchased our home. Cash deal. Clean. Quiet. I still paid the bills, did the yard work, fixed the roof after storms. But on paper, we were just renters. Month to month. The only real difference between a husband and a landlord? Legal documents. And I kept plenty. At 4:52, I submitted a reorganization notice to the county clerk. Just a standard administrative update. Nothing flashy. But from that point on, her name was legally invisible. Her contribution to the property? A Pinterest folder and a meltdown over backsplash tile. At 3:49, I pulled up an old checking account I hadn't touched in ages. Just something I'd opened and seeded a while back, in case of a rainy day. And this was a downpour. I moved the rest of the joint funds. $65,785. 47. Every last cent clean sweep. Sophia never liked using that debit card anyway. She stuck to her black Amex with her name in silver, because to her, image mattered more than access. She hadn't swiped the joint card since Easter brunch. I guess that made things easier. By 4 a.m., I'd updated all mailing addresses. Every statement now routed to a post office box tied to the trust. I even changed the profile image on the dashboard. A raven. Not because I'm superstitious. I just like the idea of a bird that watches quietly and remembers everything. I closed the laptop and poured myself a glass of water. She stirred under the covers, mumbling something about the thermostat being broken again, then rolled over and went still. No, Sophia. The thermostat works just fine. It's you that's frozen. She'd wake up later thinking she still had cards to play, still had control, still had some quiet version of me waiting around for her to come to her senses. But that man, he was gone. While she dreamed about Ethan and his late-night texts, I was sealing every exit behind her. Quietly. Completely. This wasn't revenge. It was precision. I woke up at 7:56 that morning. No alarm. No urgency. Just sunlight pouring in through the blinds, falling across the hardwood like a slow round of applause. I stretched, let out a yawn, walked barefoot into the kitchen. French press. Kenyan roast. Just the hum of the fridge and the soft clink of the spoon against ceramic. I didn't rush. Let the rest of the world panic. I'd built this moment to be calm. When I finally picked up my phone, the screen was lit up like a Christmas tree strung with panic. 198 missed calls. Sophia, her sister, a number I didn't recognize. One listed as Yoga Susan, and one with no name, which I figured had to be Ethan trying to sound important. Then came the voicemails. Oh, the voicemails. First one, Sophia, screaming. Not the sobbing kind. This was frantic, breathless rage. Why is my card getting declined? I'm standing at a gas station, and this idiot won't let me leave. Jack, call me now. She sounded like she'd just sprinted through a thunderstorm full of caffeine and disbelief. Next message, her sister, Olivia. Voice syrupy sweet, but nervous. Jack, I don't know what's happening, but Sophia is absolutely hysterical. She said something about the house being locked. Changed locks. Are you okay? I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding. Yeah, that word again. Like adultery was a calendar error. Then came my favorite. Ethan. Short. Awkward. Hey man, not sure what's going on, but Sophia is pretty upset. Thought maybe we could, talk? Click. I didn't even finish it. Let it auto-delete itself into the digital void. Meanwhile, the texts started rolling in, one after another, like popcorn in a microwave. Jack, this isn't a joke. Are you seriously ignoring me? Her messages kept stacking up. The mortgage company just told me the account isn't in our names anymore. Where's the money? What did you do? Every text hit harder than the last, more panicked, more scattered. But what stood out to me most wasn't the volume. It was the timeline. She made her first move at 6:45 a.m., right after trying to buy coffee. The Amex didn't go through. She figured it was a glitch. Then her debit card got declined at the gas station. By 8 hours 80 minutes, she was at her sister Olivia's house. borrowing her phone, calling me over and over. At 9:05, she'd spoken to someone at the bank. By 8:27, she was learning new words like unauthorized account modification. And at 8:59, she was on the phone with her attorney. I know this because at 9:01, the bank's fraud department called me to confirm my actions, right as I was pouring a second cup of coffee. I verified everything. Calm as ever. I wasn't disappearing. I wasn't hiding. I was simply finalizing the work. By 11:10, her last voicemail came in. Her voice was lower this time. Not hysterical, just sharp. If you don't call me back, I swear I'll make this ugly. I will ruin you, Jack. You think you're the smart one? You think you're the victim? No, Sophia. I was the victim. Past tense. Now I was the man holding all the evidence. She tried one more time while I was scrolling the morning news. I watched the screen light up and let it ring. Declined it mid-call. Let her sit in that silence. The one she used to mistake for weakness. She still didn't understand. The influence she thought she had was never hers. It was on loan, funded by my loyalty, backed by my self-restraint, and I just repossessed it all. While she unraveled, I took a sip of coffee. No rush, no sound, no mess. Sometimes the most powerful response is not answering the phone. By 11:02, she was on the road, driving fast, sunglasses on, mascara running down her cheeks. Her phone bounced in the passenger seat, still ringing, still calling me every few minutes like repetition could force a reset. She blew through lights. Didn't notice the horns. Didn't care about the stairs. All she could focus on was that her name no longer unlocked anything. Her cards were dead. The bank had used words she didn't understand. And the mortgage company had said something vague about corporate restructuring. Reality was slipping. She needed something solid. Something familiar. She needed the house. The one she posed in front of for social media, pretending to water rose bushes she barely looked at. The kitchen where she'd burn dinner and pass off takeout as a home-cooked meal. The upstairs mirror, her so-called truth teller, because she said it made her look younger than I deserved. That place wasn't just where we lived. It was her stage, her showroom. So at 11:49 a.m., she pulled into the driveway, fully expecting to march inside, find me sulking somewhere, and start one of her dramatic speeches. Maybe even cry. She could cry on command when she needed to. But instead of her big moment, she was met with a red light flashing on the keypad. Her key didn't work. She tried again. Harder. Like jamming it and might change the outcome. Moved to the side door. No luck. Even the garage had a brand new access panel. And that's when it all started breaking down. This wasn't the structured, let me speak to the manager, panic of earlier. This was the raw, ugly kind. The kind you can't dress up with lipstick or volume. She started pounding on the door. One hand, then both fists. Screaming, Jack, open the door. What the hell is going on? No response. The house was quiet. She pressed her face to the dining room window and squinted through the glare. And that's when she saw it. The chandelier she demanded we install? Gone. The old dining table? Replaced with a modern one, all clean lines, glass, and steel. No beige runner from her overpriced boutique. No wedding photo on the bookshelf. And then, the detail that finally cracked her. Shoes by the door. Not mine. Not hers. Someone else's. Black ballet flats. Size 7 maybe. Lined up neatly on a mat she didn't recognize. She froze. Then bolted around to the back patio, tried to slide open the door she used to leave cracked for fresh air. Locked tight. She rattled the handle, stomped, shouted. Across the street, a voice called out. Sophia? She spun. It was Charles, retired, widowed, and king of neighborhood gossip. Always outside, trimming his hedges like they were national security. I thought you moved out last week, he said, puzzled. Didn't know you were coming back. She blinked at him, confused, defensive. What are you talking about? He shrugged. That young woman with the curly hair moved in last Thursday, right? I assumed she was your niece or something. I said hi. She told me she's the new tenant. Said the house looks great. Tenant. That word landed like a brick to the chest. She turned back toward the house. The welcome mat wasn't the one she picked out. The one with swirly letters and fake charm. This one said, live deliberately. A new chapter had already started, without her. She stood there in shock for a full 30 seconds before yanking out her phone again. No missed calls. No texts from me. She typed fast, her thumb shaking. Jack, we need to talk. This has gone too far. Did you rent the house? Did you sell it? I have rights. You can't just lock me out. I'll get a lawyer. I mean it. I watched the message pop into my archive folder in real time. It nestled right in between last night's late night, "I miss you," to Ethan, and this morning's string of threats. She tried to call again. Straight to voicemail. And across town, I sat by the window in a quiet cafe, sipping espresso, reading over the lease agreement my niece Isla had drafted. 12-month term. Paid in full. Tenant, Ella Brooks. Law degree. Great credit. Zero tolerance for drama. The house hadn't disappeared. It had simply moved on without her. And Sophia? She wasn't just locked out of a home. She was shut out of a life she thought she could mock and still control. At exactly 3:06 p.m., the doorbell rang. Olivia answered, still in her robe, halfway through her second mimosa, not at all in the mood for unannounced guests, especially not ones holding clipboards. Signature required. The courier said, flat as a dial tone. Brown uniform. Clean clipboard. Envelope thick enough to knock someone out. No return address, Olivia muttered, eyeing the label. For Sophia R. That's my sister, she said, already annoyed. She's... I'll wait. The man interrupted, holding out the stylus. Sophia stormed down the hallway, barefoot, gripping her phone like a lifeline, probably still redialing my number for the 50th time that day. Her hair was wild, makeup smudged across her face like leftover war paint. She looked like she'd just stumbled through a courtroom and lost every argument. She signed without asking what it was. Probably thought it was from the bank, or a lawyer, or maybe some desperate apology from me. Flowers tucked inside, like I used to send back when we were 25 and still believed in second chances. But instead, she opened the envelope and pulled out the first page. Marriage nullification via trust dissolution. Not a request, not a filing, a declaration. It was written in clean, neutral legalese. No emotion, just facts. But the meaning was sharp enough to draw blood. The trust, the one protecting every dollar, every asset, had been officially, permanently disconnected from her. No appeals. No room for debate. Then came the second page. Court validation. Transfer of ownership confirmed. Stamped. Signed. Certified. The house she had just been locked out of? Legally never hers. The bank had accepted the full title transfer. And the new tenant, Ella Brooks, was legitimate. Paid. Approved. On lease. To the court, to the county, and to every piece of paper that mattered, Sophia had the same rights to that property as a squirrel on the roof. The third page? A screenshot. Blurry, low-res, but no question about what it showed. Her phone. A message. Guess who I humiliated tonight? And beneath it, a photo of me, chewing steak, unaware I was being turned into a punchline. My eyes half closed, mid-bite, while she lined up the perfect angle to impress the man she'd been mentally cheating with for months. The same ex she once swore was a phase, a lesson learned, not a person worth chasing. Sophia stared at the image like it had punched her in the gut. Then she got to the final page. One sentence. Handwritten. Centered. This wasn't about him. This was about you not seeing me. No name. No signature. No threats. No drama. Just the truth. The ending didn't come in shouts or slamming doors. It came in stillness. She sat down on the couch and didn't say a word. Olivia asked, "What is it?" once. Maybe twice. Sophia didn't answer. Just stared at that single line on the page like it had knocked her breath out. It didn't just tell her she'd lost. It told her why. She'd always believed that humiliation was a weapon, something she could toss like confetti, smirking through the wreckage. But this was surgical, deliberate. No audience. No applause. Just the weight of facts and a truth she couldn't spin. It wasn't about Ethan. It never was. It was about the thing she never thought to look for. Me. She showed up late to the cafe. Of course she did. Oversized sunglasses that didn't match her blouse. Hair flat and uneven, clearly pulled together in a rush. The outfit looked like it had been scooped off the floor of Olivia's guest room. Her posture screamed confidence. But her hands betrayed her, fidgeting with the strap of her purse like it was the only thing keeping her tethered to the ground. The cafe was neutral territory. Middle of town. Mid-tier. Forgettable. No memories, no emotion. Just beige chairs and soft jazz playing in the background. I was already seated. Black coffee. No cream. No sugar. Just quiet resolve. She spotted me, adjusted her glasses like a shield, and walked over with that slow, angry grace she used when she felt cornered. No hello. No sit down. I have no idea what this is supposed to prove, she snapped, arms crossed. You think throwing legal documents around makes you clever? It makes you petty. I didn't say a word. Just picked up the folder beside me and slid it across the table with 2 fingers. No flair. No smugness. Just precision. She didn't reach for it. Didn't blink. I spoke quietly. You told me I wasn't even half the man your ex was. I leaned back. Good news. He gets half the blame too. Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. What is this? Documentation, I said. In case you need help remembering who did what and when. She finally opened the folder. First page, a timeline of transactions. Not mine. Hers. Purchases. Hotel bookings. Strange withdrawals in cities she wasn't supposed to be in. Each one paired with a text or photo she'd sent me claiming she was somewhere else entirely. Second page, GPS logs. Her phone. Her car. Pulled legally, by the way, through the shared insurance app she never updated after I added her as a secondary user years ago. She always said I was too old to understand tech. Turns out I was just quiet. Third page, photos. 6 weeks of surveillance. Private investigator. Every lie, every look, every weekend yoga retreat that turned into a road trip with a man who used to serve her drinks in a cabana 15 years ago. A photo of Sophia kissing Ethan in the parking lot of a Holiday Inn Express. That was 2 hours before she told me she had to rush off, some emergency with a friend at a wellness retreat. Another image followed. Her checking into a lakeside Airbnb. 1 bed. Not 2. All time-stamped. She started flipping faster now. Her hands trembled as she scanned each page, desperate to find something that would explain it all away. Some detail, some angle she could twist into a misunderstanding. A way to rewrite the script. Make herself the lead again. But instead, she landed on the final section, her own words. Her texts, printed in full. Highlighted. You were always better in bed. I wish it was you I came home to. Jack just sat there. What a joke. I watched it sink in. Not just that I knew, but that I had intended to know. That I hadn't stumbled across anything by accident. I built this. This is low, she mumbled, pushing the folder away like it might burn her. No, I said. You went low? I just saved the receipts. She blinked fast, voice tightening. You could have come to me. We could have talked about this like adults. Worked through it. She was unraveling now. I mean, Jesus, Jack, we've got history. I leaned forward, gave her a calm, half smile, not out of spite, but clarity. You had a choice, I said. Partnership or performance. You picked the stage. I paused. This is your closing act. She folded her arms, sat back. So what now? You want a confession? An apology? I took one last sip of coffee. No, I said. I want exactly what I already got. Peace. She didn't speak, didn't cry, didn't lash out. For the first time in months, maybe longer, Sophia went still. Truly still. The weight of that folder seemed to press her deeper into her chair. Each page a quiet reckoning. As I stood to leave, I stopped behind her. I let you play your game, I said softly. Now I'm just collecting the final score. Then I walked out. No last glance. No parting words. Just the sound of the cafe door behind me. And her, left sitting there with the evidence. Her story closed. The email hit her inbox the next morning. 8:03 a.m. on the dot. Subject line, mandatory appearance. Confidential mediation review. No threats. No dramatic tone. Just a date, a time, and the name of a law office she'd never heard of, uptown. Professional. Cold. Clean. She forwarded it to Olivia with a snide little note. He's playing his legal games again, or whatever. I'll show up and shut it down. And she did show up. Heels too high to be comfortable. Makeup laid on too thick to pass for anything casual. She walked into that office like she still thought she was the main character. Like all she had to do was talk fast, and the world would bend to fit her version. At the front desk, the receptionist offered her a glass of water. She refused. She always did. To her, thirst looked like weakness. A tall man in a charcoal gray suit opened the meeting room door. Ms. Wilson? Right this way. The room was cold. Minimal. One long table. 3 chairs. A flat screen already on. No sound. She took a few steps in, then stopped mid-stride. On the screen was a still image from the restaurant. Her face, frozen in the middle of that infamous toast. Eyes sharp. glass raised in triumph. Then the video kicked in. Clear as crystal. You'll never be half the man my ex is. Laughter followed. Pursed lips. Clinking glasses. Her voice, full of pride. And there I was, calm. Silent. Chewing my food. No reaction. She blinked hard, like she could rewind the moment just by wishing it away. What is this? She snapped. Some dramatic little side project? Did he hire a film crew? The lawyer said nothing. The screen shifted again. Now it was hotel security footage. Sophia and Ethan, standing at the check-in desk. She was in yoga pants and oversized sunglasses, her hand resting lightly on his chest as they waited for the room key. Next scene, the two of them in the hotel bar. Glasses clinking, his hand on her thigh. Then, a porch outside a cabin. She sat curled in his lap, laughing. She was laughing in the video, shirt halfway off. The camera angle was low, distant, discreet, a long lens doing its job. She stumbled backward from the screen like it had pushed her. That's a violation, she stammered, voice thin, afraid of what else was coming. The lawyer said nothing, just clicked the remote. The video paused on a frame of her kissing Ethan outside a rental car. Frozen mid-moment. The same night, she told me she was out with friends. I believe, he said calmly. You referred to these as your wellness weekends. Her knees buckled. She caught herself on the chair and sank into it without another word. She whispered it more than said it. No one was supposed to see that. He nodded, opened a folder, and slid it toward her. We have bank records, text chains, hotel confirmations, all admissible. She didn't respond. The mascara on her lashes had started to flake, cracking in the corners as if it couldn't hold the weight of the moment. He flipped to the last page. You also violated the moral behavior clause outlined in your prenup. The agreement, I should note, never expired. Her head snapped up. You're bluffing, she said. He wouldn't go public. He's not that kind of person. The lawyer didn't blink. I'm not here to tell you he would. I'm here to ask if you'd rather he didn't. Silence. Then he reached into his briefcase and pulled out a pen. These are the terms, he said. You waive all rights to the property. No spousal support. You'll keep your car, your personal effects, and receive a modest payout from the trust. It's already signed. Non-negotiable. She looked down at the folder in front of her. Her name printed in clean serif type, centered above the words, waiver of entitlement. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. He really filmed everything? The lawyer didn't answer. He didn't need to. Behind him, the screen said enough. Her past, unfiltered. Her words. Her choices. Her performances, no longer private, no longer protected. She was watching the raw footage of herself, stripped of edits and excuses. And for the first time, she saw what everyone else had already seen. Not the woman she claimed to be, just the one she really was. And all it took to expose it was pressing play. The courthouse lobby smelled like disinfectant and cold air, like something meant to feel clean but couldn't hide how empty it really was. I stood near one of the marble columns, waiting. Charcoal jacket. No tie. Nothing flashy. Just an envelope in my hand. Thick paper, ivory cream, the kind used when you don't expect to send a second copy. My face was steady. Not angry. Not smug. Just done. Sophia came through the doors like a storm already spent. No thunder left, just the debris. Her heels echoed against the tile, each step loud in the silence. She wore black, like she was attending a funeral, but whether she was mourning the marriage or her image, I couldn't say. Her makeup was careful but already unraveling at the corners. Jack, wait, she said, nearly breathless. Can we just talk? 1 second. I didn't move, didn't flinch, just looked at her like someone might look at a house after the fire, no longer surprised, just taking in what was left. I didn't think you'd actually go through with this, she said. I thought we could. I mean, we've been through worse, haven't we? Her voice cracked under the weight of her own story. I held out the envelope. Said nothing. She hesitated before taking it, like it might be booby-trapped. It wasn't. It just rested in her hands, silent, final, heavier than it looked. I didn't mean it the way it sounded, she rushed on. That night, the thing about Ethan. I was angry. I was drunk. I didn't mean it. I finally spoke. Calm. Even. I see. I looked her in the eye. You said I wasn't even half the man your ex was. Her face broke. Eyes glassy, lips trembling. She nodded once, silent tears already coming. I stepped in just close enough for her to smell the coffee on my breath. close enough for her to hear what I was about to say like it was the only sound in the world. "Turns out," I said quietly, "you're not even half the woman I thought you were." Then I turned and walked away. No shouting, no final speech, no warning about what came next. Just the sound of my shoes, 2 sharp clicks, and the slow creak of the courthouse doors as they closed behind me. She stood there, in the middle of the lobby, still holding the envelope, shaking. People passed her, lawyers, families, clerks, none of them stopping. None of them looking at her the way she needed to be seen. Inside the envelope, there was no note. No personal goodbye. Just one page. Finalized agreement. Signed, filed, executed, and printed softly below in muted gray ink. Some endings aren't loud. They're clean. And in that moment, for the very first time in her life, Sophia finally understood. Sometimes, silence is the loudest sound of all.